So, which is better, Quake or Overwatch? I'm gonna tell my personal experience about the last 2 months. I've written down a little text to help me focus on what I'm gonna say. So, I've been playing Quake Champions for 30 hours total, I guess, at this point, since the start of the beta. I know it's not really much, but I think it's pretty good to have to tell you my first impressions. And before playing Quake Champions, I was really obsessed with Overwatch. I think I played that game for most of 2017. Was my most played game of 2017. I started playing Quake because I was feeling pretty tired of the mess that the competitive section of Overwatch was getting to. I gotta say, since it's the only long-term decent part of the game, I think it's a pretty bad thing for that type of game. This for a multiplayer game like Overwatch is. For me, the part that ruined the game the most were the trollers, completely the trollers. And at some point, I felt like I needed some here, some fresh air, and Quake offered that to me. Most of the community, when you start to play Quake Champions, is really welcoming, which is something really completely different from Overwatch, if I gotta be honest. And the voice chat isn't as remotely important as in Overwatch, so you can also just ignore it. You don't have to. You don't have to have a mic, for example, when you're playing Quake. It's not important. You're playing for yourself and sometimes for your team, but it's not really important to coordinate yourself if you're good enough to sustain your team or yourself. In Overwatch instead, if you're using the voice chat and you're having also a bad streak of matches, I started to feel like it was frustrating as hell, the game. And at a certain point, I think that most players don't really understand anymore if the problem is yourself or the team, or even if the problem are both. And that's where the frustration comes in, at least for me. On the other end, I found that one particularly, at least this is my personal take about it, one really obnoxious thing is the YouTube section of Overwatch. If you start to follow even slightly some game players on Overwatch, your recommended videos are just gonna be about Overwatch game players, about people playing Overwatch as pros, or just something doing montages, or what I think is the worst part of the community of Overwatch in some kind of way. I don't want to generalize. I want to give just my opinion after 1 month not playing the game. Is seeing like there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people just posting videos about small patches that don't do absolutely anything to the game, or they do even worse. I think the worst part of the game, the worst part of the YouTube videos about Overwatch, are the people just opening loot boxes. Jesus, is that your content? I mean, I know I'm not an example for good content, but seriously, is opening like 100 loot crates or some bullshit like that the best thing you can offer for a community, for your viewers? It's like a Jinx level of reaction videos. I mean, you gotta be so bad? Damn. Whatever. So I was saying, at a certain point, I realized that the game was more about ranking up than enjoying the game itself. And in those days, I remember around those days, I received the email that from Bethesda that allowed me to join the closed beta of Quake, and I suddenly started downloading it and playing it. It wasn't in a state as good as today, where the game runs pretty smooth. Also on my old build, I have like a 760 GTX GeForce, which is pretty old at this point, video game card. But it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun, even if in the first moment of the beta, the closed beta, it was kind of freezing sometimes. The game had micro freezes. It wasn't as smooth as today. And probably one of the worst part of when you start to play Quake in general is that you have to endure the first hours when you're not getting how you move in the game. After you get those first hours and you learn how to strafe jump and stuff, you're gonna start to have a blast. Yeah, I promise you that it's gonna be completely different as an experience. Now, and this was my first impression of the game when I started it. If I gotta say more generally about how the hero system works out in Quake, I gotta say, completely different from Overwatch. The hero system in Quake gives you more of a possibility in planning your way of playing and creating a personal style. Either if you like playing tanks or squishes. Playing Quake, losing usually feels more like... Sorry, I was going ahead with my script, but it's not really good. And the hero system gives you choices. It allows you to play whichever hero you want, which is something that you no longer do in Overwatch. Because if people see that you don't play your mains, they're gonna freak the fuck out. They're gonna start complaining and wasting time and throwing and stuff. And I was pretty fed up about it. And I gotta say, the hero system in Quake just give you some help to start the game, to learn it, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good at this point, I think. It's a pretty good idea to let other new players join the game. I want to talk as one of my last topics about this game is that when you lose and you're playing Quake, losing doesn't feel like a loss. It feels more like an opportunity to learn from your mistakes rather than a chance to scream your disappointment in your microphone into some dude's headphones in your own team, which is something that I think is really important to learn how to be competitive, how to learn how to play, to enjoy a game. And when you win, it's kind of strange, maybe just me, for this kind of personal feeling, but when you win in Quake, you feel like you could have done way better, and you just want to quickly start a new game. Even though you have to wait a little, I gotta say, since the player base isn't as large as in Overwatch. So, I've been talking for 7 minutes, I'm gonna try to wrap this video up. So, I strongly suggest this game for those tired of playing Overwatch to give a shot to Quake and try to endure the first hour until you understand how strafing works. And I promise you that when you're gonna earn by yourself the first position in a match, is gonna feel a whole lot more satisfactory than winning a game with a bunch of strangers in Overwatch just because the other team got rolled by luck. So, this was my final statement. I know it's not a pretty good video, but I hope that you kind of liked the way I posted. So, this was Vibex, and remember to check my Twitter. The link is in the channel description and probably is going to be down below. And I hope that you enjoyed at least a little bit this short video, and let me know if you had a similar experience and any thoughts about this subject. And see ya!